light, depending on the sun, where it was coming from, what time of day it was. And the shots through the window tended to be a warmer light. So there are little bits, and even though these are close cropped, you'll see little bits and pieces of, anyway. This is an image that is in neither body type 1 or body type nor body type 2, but I have, since both books have been published, I keep discovering more and more. This guy is so incredible. He has Camus on one shin, reflected in French, and Sartre on the other. And on his one arm, he has a quote from the Iliad. On the other arm, a quote from the Aeneid. But wait, there's more, in the words of Ron Popeil. The Fibonacci sequence on one hip, and on the other hip, pi to the 100th decimal point. I cannot make this up. So, and actually my colleague Ethan Ham up from City College saw this guy in Inwood Park and said, "You have to talk to my friend Ina." So, and that is often how it goes, especially now. The first book was very hard because I had to keep explaining to people what I was doing because no one had done it before. After the first book came out, people understood what I was doing, and anyone who had seen it, if they saw a typographic tattoo, they would send someone to me. So there was that was already, the word was out, and now it continues, and I get fan mail from all corners of the globe. It blows me away. From the, western mining regions of Australia, from Tanzania, from Scotland. This is a quote from Nietzsche. "There is always some madness in love," and on the back of the other arm, "but there is also some reason in madness." Very nice Roman caps, nicely spaced. This I shot up in Calgary at a conference where I was speaking about magazines. It's another whole area. And this is an editor of Literary Magazine, and his quotation is in the handwriting of Roland Barthes. And it is from the very last page in Barthes by Barthes, his autobiography, in which he approaches himself as he would a text. And this is in the French, and the translation is, if I can... and afterwards, what to write now? Can you still write anything? One writes with one's desire, and I am not finished with desiring. You have to admit that this is a very highbrow level of a tattoo. It's very different from what those of us who haven't given it a thought think about tattoos. This is a replica of the text from a catalog of Jenny Holzer's work. And this is a student at City College, if any of my colleagues are here and they recognize this person. His name is Eduardo. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And I saw him on the subway as I was, I guess there's a theme of public transportation in my, but he was on the subway at 125th Street, the number 1 train, and I was sitting right next to him, and I said, wow, So I became very bold about speaking to strangers. At first I was shy, and then I learned I had to speak up if I wanted to get them. This is a little detail of Eduardo's arm. You can see it a little more closely. This is Wittgenstein, the most famous line from Wittgenstein. The translation, it's Helvetica Neue condensed for you art directors in the audience. The translation is, what we cannot speak about, we must pass over in silence. This is someone from the, these are Maori quotations, and it's all about her culture as someone from that region of the world. Just a spectacular, Stephanie Tamez, I'll give a shout out to her as a fabulous tattoo artist. She works at New York Adorned. If anyone is thinking of getting a tattoo, I highly recommend Stephanie Tamez, although there's a long wait to see her, so book now. Anyway, this is her work, and she is a wonderful artist. This is beautiful, too. This is Bickham Script Bold from the, is it Johnny Mercer? Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Beautiful swashes. Musical tattoo. And here's another musical tattoo. These are lyrics from a Who song. I hope I die before I get old. Is that you, Alex, back there shaking your head? What can I say? It's a beautiful thing, and when it's really well done, I have to admire it. I have no tattoos. I will never get any tattoos. I'm phobic about needles, and there are about 5 other top reasons that I would never get a tattoo. I don't even have pierced ears. This is someone that I saw fairly early on. This is what I was talking about when I said the, slavish devotion to letter forms. Alex knows what I'm talking about. This is a Baskerville G over a champion section symbol, and that is a feta fracture S underneath. This is like a secret code for typophiles, because this is the original lowercase G of the typeface Futura, designed by Paul Renner, which actually was never released. It's only in his drawings. This is not in either of the books. This is something new. This couple emailed me, and they said that after 9 years of marriage, they were tired of wearing wedding rings, and they wanted to get tattoos because they felt it was a bigger commitment. She's a designer, so she chose the typefaces Rockwell Light for her and Emigre's Sabbath Black for him. And this is wonderful. If anyone is a fan of Jonathan Heffler, as I am, Jonathan Heffler's typefaces I'm just a big fan, so I designed both of my books using Heffler text, and these 3 ampersands are from different versions of Heffler text. Another Heffler text fan, obviously. These are on a designer in Manchester, England. Now, if you are a designer, you know that lorem ipsum is the dummy type that you pull in when you're doing a layout. And believe it or not, I have not 1, but 2 lorem ipsum tattoos. So you understand, this is sort of, as I said, like kind of I don't want to say a secret code, but it's a lot of people say to me, well, why do people get tattoos or these tattoos? I can't speak for tattoos at large, and part of it is you want to set yourself apart. You want to distinguish yourself. You want to be more of an individual. You want to say something about yourself. But you're also becoming part of a tribe of other similarly tattooed people. So there's a kind of belongingness and an otherness at the same time. And there's an expression of your personal passions. I heart Helvetica. This is not my photograph. He sent this to me, but some people have a sense of humor about their tattoos. This is also, this designer had, I believe, gotten a master's degree in typography, and she wanted a tattoo that would show from one extreme to the other, so she chose A to Z, and the A is Universe 55, the M dash is from Wood Type Ornaments, and the Z is Times New Roman. Times New Roman, of course, typeface that many of you know because it's a default. This is a B from a hand-painted font by Barry McGee. She is a fan of the artist, and also her cat's name is Banyan, and so she wanted a tribute to her cat. This is, he wanted a timeless message, and what's more timeless than the alphabet? And again, another designer, he chose Volta Bold, Trade Gothic Bold Condensed, and his design firm, he became known by his tattoos, and he's a designer, so he decided to call his firm Alphabet Arm Design. So this is also a designer who chose, this is by Stephanie Tamez, the artist, and she wanted, again, a timeless message, the alphabet, and there are 10 different connected typefaces in this alphabet on her arm. She's an art director at Sephora. This is a poet who said the alphabet, he had the alphabet in Courier because it reminded him of his typewriter, and he would always have all the letters with him that he would ever need. And I thought that was such a lovely thing to say, very beautifully expressed. And this is a typewriter. It's not, I mean, there are little letters on the keys, so I had to include it. It was just too tempting. It's just an antique typewriter. I should say that he is, by day, he's a structural engineer. By night, he is an artist who collects vintage typewriters and makes art by making patterns of lettering with his vintage typewriters, because the way in which the keys strike the surface is different on each one, and that's his art. This is a writer whose favorite form of punctuation is the semicolon. It is mine too. I tend to write a lot of run-on sentences. And here's a comma. She calls this the most beautiful of all punctuation marks. It's a 100-point Bell Gothic, and she named her middle daughter Eves for Mrs. Eves, Alex. This is a question mark in Century Gothic. She's got a little henna on her hand also. And this is a famous lettering artist on the West Coast, and his sister-in-law is here tonight. And he, as a much older person, decided, after many people said to him, sort of teased him, he said he was often asked what kind of a tattoo he would get if he were ever to get one. So he decided he was finally going to get one. Jim Parkinson, if anybody knows him. This is, of all, I have to say, this is one of my favorites. It's just so exquisite. It's based on German calligraphy from the 16th century, and it's the letter S. Really beautiful. This is what is called an ambigram, and this was designed by John Langdon for someone whose last name is Bridges. So you can see that upside down and right side up, it reads the same way. And John Langdon is also the artist who designed Angels and Demons, the ambigram that is the important clue, and I think the cover art in the same guy who wrote the Da Vinci Code. And he named his character after John Langdon, Robert Langdon, his detective. Here is another ambigram. This is actually called an asymmetrical ambigram, and you can see that it reads philosophy in one direction and art and science in the other direction. It takes a lot of skill to design these. Here's another ambigram on three siblings. It says genetics and strength. It's quite beautiful. And this one you can see is in front of my building. It's a mirror ambigram. Teach and learn. For you professors in the audience. This is, sometimes people get tattoos in reverse so that they can see it right reading in the mirror when they look at themselves. This is also a comment on the impermanence of life. And of course it has a double meaning because tattoos are as permanent as it gets while you are alive. Sometimes people want to say something about themselves as a kind of affirmation. And this is her own handwriting in marker, but then she had it tattooed. Similarly, a 5-star girl. This is a young woman who was born in Rome, so she wanted to have her birth date in Roman numerals on and in Roman caps. And she says, "This is who I am." This is a beautiful gray wash tattoo. It's a different kind of a technique. And it's the initials in Bodoni condensed, and he's also an art director, so he tweaked it a little and he rounded the part where the serif meets the letter, but it's sort of a 3D effect. This is a declaration of love, which can take many forms. This is hand-drawn. This is the guy who was the manager of the Ramones, by the way, and he said that the thorns represent the very painful end of a relationship. I was talking to someone about this tattoo earlier. This is also a Stephanie Tamez tattoo. I'm now at the point where I recognize her work so well that he was wearing a sleeve covering almost all of this.